go. You don't collect $200. This is it for them. They need to make sure that they win these 2 maps. Otherwise, they will not be in the finals. It's TSM trying to put them in the grave. Let's see what these bans go like.
All right, guys, let's take a look here and see how the bans are going to shape up. See if we'll have anything different for Cafe. Thatcher is going to get knocked off first here as the ban from TSM, and then we'll see Oxygen's in just a moment. Curious if we'll see Ash ban out because of the Merc. I don't think that that's going to happen, but I'm going to put that thought in people's minds, and oh, it did actually happen. So, man, I'm like a magician today. I can just make stuff happen in game.
Can you say I'm going to win the lottery since it's at $1 billion?
I don't know if I can control things outside the Rainbow Six Siege universe right now. We haven't tested my powers to that extent yet.
Well, I mean, if you say it and then you guys never see me again, you'll know what happened. There you go. Because I'm not telling any of you.
Legion ban. No, I'm down with just...
What if it... Oh, man. Oh, man.
But yeah, Wamai and Mir are going to be our 2 defensive operators getting knocked out here. Wamai's been a pretty popular one as of late, and we've been seeing more and more Mira, too, so we're starting to see her get banned out a lot more, too, as she kind of always has been the case since her inception.
Yeah, she's just one of those defensive operators that when she's on the field, she is always a nuisance. You know, she has quite a few setups and quite a few maps, and that's why you don't see her all the time, right? There's a couple ones where it's just a disparity. You don't really want to bring Mira there. There's other things that work just a little bit better than the setup with the Mira windows. But Cafe definitely leans into some Mira play, especially around that top floor. We can see, you know, some nice setups around the bar area. But we're not going to talk about those too much. Will my getting removed just because, you know, you want to try and get as many projectiles to land as possible. So TSM going to be on defense here on Cafe to start us off, and they're starting things off downstairs inside of the kitchen.
Be a site that we've been seeing teams drift more and more towards. We've had a lot of the maps actually shift their kind of starting site as of late. This has always been a popular one, though. This one along with the 3rd floor site. Usually it's from the 3rd floor we see teams go to often, but as of late, I've personally been seeing more and more teams shift down towards the 1st floor instead. Either way, this does mean that we have the roam setup that's going to be deployed here from TSM as well. Looks like it's going all the way up to the 3rd floor, but the extent with which they're going to play up here is still yet to be seen, and might vary a little bit depending on how Oxygen are going to approach this as well. They've got that rotate out over towards White Stairs. You know, no deployable barricades or anything like that to play over to the inside of the 1st floor VIP room, and so that they can have that kind of extended hold there. But other than that, we're definitely still playing the vertical hold, as you can tell from the lineup of TSM's players, just looking at the other floors.
And there's a lot of squads that have started to do this. Most notably, the one that was kind of the first one to start doing these extended roams on Cafe was BDS, if I remember correctly, with their fallback strat inside of the dining room area. Just fall back into the freezer, delay as much time across the map as you can. So we'll see how Oxygen tries to handle this. But another thing I just wanted to point out is that TSM really didn't seem to have anything set up inside of the VIP area over towards the east side of the map. So that could run them into some problems later on. But no, Fox just hops in the building, and Achieve makes sure to do what he does best. He just shoots him right in the face. That's the sledge off the board, and that's a lot of vertical play gone. Zofia now being the only one here with you know, distance explosives. So sledge gone. Bio still having breaching charges as well to try and assist, and he's also bringing that IQ, which could definitely help out, especially keeping track of what's going on with Achieve, Bolo, and Merc. But it's Oxygen now to finally fire back as Achieve goes down.
Oxygen's going to take a lot of heat in that exchange, though. He'll be down to sub 25 as a result of that, and Geometric's already made up the difference with a kill on the Bio. Vert's been dropped too, although not full kill just yet. Never mind, Merc's going to finish it off with a quick little Pokeball there, takes him out of the running, and just like that, only halfway through the round, we are already down to a 4 versus 2, and Laxing's not really meant for this world as well. At under 25 HP, this is going to be a tough round for Oxygen to battle back from.
Just very weird as to how Oxygen was handling this map, and the fact that Fox thought that pillars were going to be completely free when there was no drones that had covered that area at all. So but I mean, hey, just a botch round early on by Oxygen. They still have an attempt here, but with Laxing on very minimal HP, this is going to be very difficult. I mean, there's so many of these TSM members with high rate of fire weapons. You're more than likely going to get caught off, whether it be through a soft wall or what had you, here in the next minute. But that initial entry into the building is the thing that we should definitely hyper focus on, is that is really the main reason we're in this entire moment. I mean, TSM more than likely going to win this round at this point. I wanted to try and see what Oxygen was going to do with this setup towards VIP, like I was talking about at the initial parts of the round, but it doesn't even seem like we're going to make it that far.
Slash already working his way down here through white. Going to try and make the push to the inside of Freezer, as that has been left open, but it's potentially a little too open for his taste here, as you can see him checking every single extremity of this push before he decides to commit to it. Down he goes so quickly as well, and Bolo's not even going to get that one, but he also quickly finishes off Laxing, as you'll remember he was low there too. But either way, nice little double there from Bolo to finish things off in round number 1. TSM takes solid control in the 1-0 lead that'll come with that.
Fantastic roam game there by TSM, catching Oxygen off guard inside that Pillars area and translating that into a round win. There was just too many picks for Oxygen to try and win that out. Didn't have enough map control, and especially not enough vertical control to try and make anything happen inside of that site and get that case planted. So TSM switching things up, going to be headed towards reading on a fireplace on that middle level. Usually we see teams transition into a bar hold for the second site, but that seems like they're going to be using that as their tertiary site instead. So we'll have to see how it works out. Reading and fireplace is a very, very strong site. Cafe overall being quite strong towards the defense anyway.
Going to be seeing how the second floor hold will pan out for TSM. Setup's not looking too crazy right now. We do have the castle assist coming in here from Geo. That's going to block off the balcony access for the attackers, which potentially could be a very quick path that they could use in order to get into the site. Now it's obviously going to be a bit more of a process. The other two, more than likely going to be used to support the third floor hold, as there is an extension of this. It's a bit of a stretch to call it a roam at this point, seeing as it's brought in essentially every single defense on these second floor sites nowadays. But for the sake of consistency, we'll still call it that for the time being. The roam setup up here onto the third floor. So these players have to bunker themselves in and try to outlast the push from OXG coming in from the other side on the west end of this third floor.
Okay, well, Oxygen out the gates now. We'll see if this round finds them any success as opposed to what happened in the previous one. Lots of setup here upstairs for TSM inside a cocktail. ADSs, castle barricades, vertical play for default plant. Lots of things going on. Oxygen seem as though they want to try and move fast. Already got to the roof, breaking things up. Slash with a drone already prepared. And this pacing is exactly what we've seen from them for most of the day. No matter the side, we've only had quite, a small handful of slow rounds so far in between these two. But now it seems as though Oxygen does want to lean on these drones, and that's probably a good thing. Mostly this top floor area is what they're wanting to highlight and take control of so that they can possibly get a plant down inside of reading, because without that, you're more than likely going into that dining area, and that's exactly what TSM want them to do.
Achieved a little drone hunting mission here as he tries to maintain stable position just next to train here, but he's going to end up falling back just for safety purposes since he was spotted out. Wanted to see if there'd be any reaction to that drone intel, but obviously quite a bit of time has gone by and nothing much has really happened for him, so he'll continue to maintain that spot sitting just behind the mining machine. Other than that, things have stayed pretty quiet. We've got a couple duels that are on the brink of happening, and man, it happened again. Geo is going to be able to move in here. Just every time I say quiet, someone dies. Slash is going to go down here as TSM once again gets the opening advantage. Merc may be able to push it a little bit further here too as he catches an additional player. I believe that's Foxay trying to work his way out from the inside of Cigar, but is quickly going to get pushed back by the Freezer player.
This is such a difficult setup for Oxygen trying to work through, and now that Slash is gone as well, they have to do it all through funneling into site or any TSM member overstepping, and that's exactly what's going to happen. Merc steps up inside a long bar and gets taken down by Fox, but it's immediately traded. Actually, no. Laxing finds his own inside of Pillar. I thought I saw some damage over towards the orange side, but that was not the case. It was Achieve taking quite a bit of damage instead. So TSM all of a sudden on their back foot, but they still have control of the site area. Just not kitchen, and that's where these angles are going to come in for Chala. He assumed that that sniper shot was coming in from behind him, but no, Kali's utility was used elsewhere. Oxygen still with plenty of time to drone out as well, getting to know this site and familiarize themselves with where these utility pieces are set up. Now some damage coming in, and top floor control into the hands of OXG.
Great recovery here once again from OXG to maintain control here and more importantly take it away from their opponents. But now do they have the time to get this plant onto the ground? Only 10 seconds left to make it happen. Chala and Bolo both still have positions deep into the site here. Here come the pushes. Vert's going to be able to take down Bolo on a wrap. Chala is going to be able to take down one player. Can he stop the plant? No, as there is the cover from Fox to make sure that it stays on the ground. Oxygen pick up the exchange and get round number 2 as we enter a 1-1 scoreline between these teams.
I swear, Oxygen has to do things in the most complicated way in order to win rounds. They will open up a round and have like the best opening possible, and then it'll be botched somehow. But then Oxygen will lose the only hard breach that they have on the entire offense, and somehow not only take top floor control when everything is set up not for them to do that, but will also work their way onto site and attempt to get a plant down. Fantastic plays here from Oxygen to win out all of these gunfights, put TSM on that back foot, and continue applying that pressure. That's where a lot of teams miss the mark. Once you get that pressure applied, you can't allow TSM to sit there and think about the problem. They're going to find an answer to this. These are also professional players as well, you know what I mean? So you don't want to try and give them time to make that adjustment. Oxygen flying colors inside of round 2.
Another attempt at the same site coming in here from TSM. Round was close enough for them to be able to figure that they can maybe make it run one more time compared to going upstairs and attempting that third floor site hold, or even maybe switching things up and going for the mining hold instead. Either way, TSM will stick with it here. Look for their second round as they complete the wrap and potentially unlock kitchen on the round after this. Same setup overall here too, for the most part. From what I can tell, we've got the castle setup that's still going to be alive and well here from Geo and should be set up in the same exact way as it was previously.
10 seconds left.
Okay, well, taking a look over to the Oxygen side, it seems as though we're going to have vertical now on the IQ instead of biologic. Bio's still going to be playing the Kali, which is that fill for the Thatcher ban, so they can try and get some hard destruction in. There's not going to be anything placed upstairs to actually prevent them from getting these walls, so it's going to be up to Oxygen on how they want to use this hard destruction of Slash, and they actually have quite a few opportunities. Granted, the Mute Jammer is there now, but they can still handle that with Kali. But what I wanted to talk about is the recent buff to Hibana's kit and how you can now decide the amount of pellets that you want to use per shot, 2, 4, or 6, which allows her to use a lot more hard destruction overall to create angles or pop hatches or what have you. So she's became a lot more of a, you know, Swiss Army knife when it comes to hard destruction than simply the Hatch Queen.
Continue to see a slow broil build up here in the first couple seconds of the round. Laxing ready to hop in potentially at the bottom of the red staircase. Quite a few elements of play surrounding him in this area of the map as well here. There we go. There's the step to the inside. No counter on it. Laxing would actually have a free kill if he walks right up to the Malusi right now, and there's the spot, but no! The opportunity's been missed. The Malusi, played by Achieved, is going to realize what's going on, quickly falls back to the bar stairs, and is going to work his way up those there. Still stays alive. Achieved, and a lucky star watching his back this time, as he somehow is able to make it out of that scenario with no damage from Laxing.
Yeah, that man's got an angel watching him or something. I don't really know. But the best part about that was, you know, he sees Lax and it's like, yeah, no, I don't want to be here.
I don't want this fight.
It's like, absolutely not, sir. It's way too early for this. Way too early. So great plays by Achieve to extend that timer instead. And I mean, look at the artillery on TSM. They want to come for Oxygen with these nitro cells and try and get these lead off picks. And they've done a bang up job of delaying time. The last time we saw these two squads on this round, which was the previous one, they ended up having quite a few people dead by about 1:30, and right now we're still 5v5 going into the last minute. This is going to be something remarkable by both of these teams. It's Achieved to lead us off now as Laxing gets picked.
TSM seems to be locking into a thought pattern where if they can force Oxygen into a low time to execute, which does seem to be the way they go about executes when they're forced into them, that they can potentially control the situation if they still maintain a player advantage, which is quite literally the exact situation that's unfolding right now. So TSM, if that is their strategy right now, they're playing into aces here as they've got it down to a 5v3. We've got the additional players inside of pillars here, but Bolo dealing with that as well, dodging the shots from the sniper on Kali too. Nicely done as Biologic finally goes down at CSRX, no longer a problem for the defenders here. And even worse news for Oxygen, they now once again only have 15 seconds to get that diffuser onto the ground.
Oh my god, what would win? A 50 caliber bolt action sniper rifle or a 9mm shooty boy? Apparently it's the 9mm instead. TSM with a flawless round. That was just so well done overall. Oxygen biting from map control once again, but they're running into this issue where they're taking either long distance gunfights or disjointed gunfights where they're not tradable, and they continue to lose to TSM. And you know, that snowball eventually works into a boulder. That's a very, very big problem. You can't continue to trickle feed into these TSM members, because this is exactly what's going to happen. So unless Oxygen can right this ship, I don't see this offense really improving at all. We're going to have a change up now, and this is actually going to be really, really nice. Getting off the Collie, picking up the Maverick instead. So Bio, no longer one shot, one kill, but that M4 can definitely put some people in some body bags.
Definitely going to be the case. Changing things up, obviously going to make the mid-round fights a little bit less awkward here for Bio as well. In general, CSRX can be a hard weapon to work with once you're in the actual interior of the building if you don't have long angles to establish with. But that time not really working out too well. Instead, as Stokes had mentioned, we're going to see the flip up now over to the Mav instead. The third floor defense is actually rolling in here from TSM as well, instead of returning back down to the kitchen where they've already been able to pick up a round. It seems like TSM want to at least test out this site defense before going back to something that's already worked.
Okay, well, round 4 up for us now, as you were saying. Going to be upstairs for TSM. Very traditional, setup here for both of these squads. Goyo shield inside of Freezer. Looks like they're going to have a pixel setup as well. Don't necessarily know if they're going to have a shield out there. They are still going to be a Goyo shield, but this is just going to be an extended burn here for TSM that they've set up for Oxygen. So it's up to Oxygen to try and light this fuse and work through these things. Lots of setup here for all of those throwables. Specifically, from Merc, but it's gotten a lot easier now, especially with that Omai ban coming into play. Jaeger's utility has changed up, so he doesn't just burn 2 pieces of util anymore. He can burn an infinite amount, but before you clutch your pearls and say, Stokes, why would they do that? They made it to where once you throw one, his ADS disables for 10 seconds, then turns back on. And during that 10 seconds, you can throw anything through it possible. So that's actually a really, really big change, especially in how this, dynamic goes for the Christmas control area. You see Bolo doesn't want to play inside a pixel anymore, where we saw a lot of members playing before, simply because you could dance off the shield, try and contest ticket window, the cigar door. There was a lot of options for you, but now Bolo wants a safer location instead, and that's exactly why they've shifted him on over into bathroom with the Goyo shield inside a pixel and that regular deployable shield inside of the bathroom.
Well, a minute gone by from the round here. Both teams still waiting for that opening initiation they can take, and it might be happening now. Chala just barely making it out of his freezer bunker there after we see the Goyo shield get blown up. Only has a sliver of HP remaining to fight with after that. Bolo's still in position, though, and he's sitting behind a normal one. Might actually take the duel against these window repels, too. It might not have a choice in the matter. He is going to be able to get some damage off on a vert. Knocks off half of his HP. But still, no full kill as of yet. Minimum, they just traded the damage that was taken on a Chala earlier. For the time being, this round's going to stay passive. Bert, though, getting the intel onto where the player is positioned on the inside of bathrooms. Going to try and blow it up here with more of the X-Kairos from Slash and finally deal with that issue that's been stopping the push from Oxygen for so long.
On TSM, already draining 2 minutes off the board. ADS gone now for Bolo, but he still resides here inside of bathroom on the deployable shield. Concussion in to make sure that he's still there, but no follow-up from OXG. Still have grenades. Actually, no grenades on Biologic. I didn't see him toss him, but no frags at all for Oxygen anymore. And oh no, it's Bolo on his shield. We've heard Canadian talk about this one before, but Vertical sneaks inside. Not really keen on anyone pushing inside of White, but he takes down 2. Merc on top of White as well. Shot to pieces, but actually going to get cleaned up instead. 3 versus 2 now for TSM. Geo still with the long stick here. That Alda, 81 rounds in a dream. Now up to Laxian and Fox for the offense. 15 seconds remain. Lax has been in this position before. Stun grenade out. Did he possibly get it? The ARX eats him alive. Oh no. But now it's up to Laxian and very minimal HP actually still on Chala, able to take down Laxing. I was going to say minimal, ammo inside of that ARX, but it didn't seem to matter. The M590 does exactly what it's good at. Those close range engagements never go towards the way of the offense when that shotgun's on the field, and that's going to be 3-1 in favor of TSM.
I just didn't see it in game, obviously, but Merc giving some respect as well to Vert there for that crazy flick onto him back over at White Stairs when he was pushing that. A beautiful second kill that kept the push alive for at least a couple more seconds for OXG. Ultimately to fail, though, a few moments later due to the shotgun hold from Chala in the depths of Freezer there. A third round going up onto the board for TSM. A great delay as well from Bolo, really the thing that bleeds away so much of the time on the inside of the bathroom there. It took OXG such a long time to work their way past that they just didn't really have what was needed to play out the rest of the site at that point. So we sit at the current scoreline for 3-1, and with the first timeout coming in, I believe, from Oxygen.
Yep, yes indeed. Oxygen timeout here, and You're exactly right. I mean, this has not been going exactly well for Oxygen. TSM continuing to win out these rounds. Great push there by Oxygen, especially from Vert. But, you know, one amazing player can only do so much for the entire team. And, you know, he was 2 for 1, which is exactly what you want as an entry. If you go for 2 for 1 on every single one of your entries, you should not complain about what's happening with your job. That's a 2.0 KD. That's, 2 KPR. There's so many positive things that come from that, but other people have to back those things up. And that's not what happened with Oxygen. And it really was all down to what was happening with Bolo inside of the bathroom. They delayed so much time in there, and there was really no priority by Oxygen to remove him from that location in an orderly fashion, simply because they burned both ADSs. And while we switched back to Bolo inside a bathroom, you hear the ADS turn back on. During that entire time in which that ADS is off, they can launch impacts, throw frag grenades, do whatever you have to do to try and get rid of that shield in front of Bolo, and they didn't do it. So, you know, it's just one of those things where they could have got one of the things on their checklist done a whole hell of a lot earlier, and that's not what happened. Instead, they have to go for this frantic push of white. Granted, they are able to get 2 off that, but again, Oxygen just not able to close things out simply because TSM traded out so well.
So TSM once again in control of things here throughout most of the half so far in the opening one for Cafe. 2 rounds remain in it. Opportunity for TSM to once again set up a 5-1 scoreline if they can continue the trend throughout these next 2 rounds. But Oxygen are going to change pace as well. Unfortunately for them, we're going back to round number 1 where things continue to look very, very strong for TSM. That was the very first round they picked up, but it's also been some time since we've gone back to that, so plenty of time for the leadership in Oxygen to figure out counters to the setup that we saw from TSM in that round. It does look, though, that like TSM are going to be playing much more horizontally this time on the defense of this site compared to before, where it was vertically done.
Actually might be quite strong, as it appears Oxygen want to try and take horizontally as well. They've already popped small big door as well as the lobby area. Doesn't seem as though they want to get too aggressive just yet. They still have bio on the Maverick, as he's going to lose drones already. 4 drones. It make that 5 drones now for Oxygen gone in the first minute. And does that actually make 6? It does indeed, as one of them gets stolen from the Mozzie Pest. And now you guys understand why Mozzie and Mute were such a potent combo before. I mean, look at the drone economy right now for Oxygen. They have very minimal avenues to try and find any intel on this site. Now they need to try and get the bakery wall open, and they'll have to commence holding the rest of this area, which would be the red stairs as well, that small bake, to try and make sure nobody can possibly frag out onto their Maverick. TSM is set up for this, though. Plenty of reinforcements to try and block any bullets coming in for Chala on this single panel, as well as Geo playing inside of Sync. So they've got the nice crossfire set up for anyone that wants to try and push in from prep or try and flood in possibly from this wall. Nice little setup here, made a hole right dead center inside of the reinforcements on Bakery, and they're going to use a frag grenade to get rid of what seems to be the electro claw. Actually, no, the bandit batteries here for Geometrics.
While Stokes was talking, there was keeping an eye on the drone count, and if you guys haven't noticed it, well, I'm going to draw your eyes to
Oh
it
my
now.
God.
Things have gotten even more drastic since the last time Stokes brought it up here. We're down to a single
looks
drone.
like my Bitcoin worth right now.
Yeah, after yesterday anyway. But Vert is now the only one left with a drone to play off of here for Vert. It's going to have to try and leverage that. There is at least, whoa, nice shot here from Vert as well to be able to work his way. And this is really the only problem with the drone game, is that it's on the player who's also leading the charge for them right now. So they really just don't have the access to the drone that they would like to have. And TSM even have stolen 1 or 2. Obviously, they're going to be dead now with the Chief being taken out there. But Vert, like I said, very much in front of the fight here, trying to keep himself and more importantly his team's take alive as we enter the last 35 seconds of this. Bolo in a bit of a tight spot here by the corner stairs. Fox is going to be able to pick up another kill here for Oxygen as he eliminates Chala. Now make it 2 as he takes down Geo as well. Getting a 3rd one's going to be tough at the low HP he has, but his teammates are starting to chime in as well. Laxton gets the pick onto Bolo. Merc now the last player standing, and he can't even get 1 on the board here. It's a flawless round from Oxygen as they are able to take this kitchen defense with relative ease.
Well, you were talking about Mario Kart before. It seems like they popped the power up where TSM only shoots marshmallows, because everyone got lit up there. No one died on Oxygen. That's some pretty weird stuff, but nevertheless, still around in their pocket, and one that they needed desperately. 4-2 split on Cafe, starting on the offensive side, is not bad at all, but if they can equalize 3-3, that's definitely something you want to call home about. They're going to be sticking to a very similar lineup, only Bio again switching things up, but more than likely going to be a 6 pick here, I would assume, just simply because that map was working out quite well for them. But we'll have to see if they actually want to lock that instead. And yeah, that's exactly what they're going to do. We're headed towards Reading Room and Fireplace Hall right now after that fantastic round there by Oxygen. It didn't really seem as though the drones were necessarily needed. They got the initial information on the positioning for TSM, and TSM didn't switch things up very much. Achieve stayed inside of coat check. He stayed there for most of the round. That's how Vert gets that first kill, and then he just simply plays inside of coat check and waits for the information to come to him. They knew the placement of the Maestro and the other remaining members. The rest of that push, well, that was up to Foxay pushing in through white. We had Bolo on the cross, but he wasn't able to thread the needle to get that headshot. So floods in through Freezer, gets the kill on Bomb Chassis, swings for sinks, kills that man as well, and then that's all she wrote for round 5.
Well, round number 6, right around the corner, the last chance for TSM to make an impact on this defensive half. Talk about how they can potentially get up to 5-1. That dream is obviously dead, but 4-2 still very much in the cards here. That was a very convincing round from Oxygen, though, and they've already come close to winning this site attack. I believe they actually have won it once already. So a possible repeat is certainly in the future for them as well, which could lead us into a 3-3 scoreline, making things much more interesting heading into that second half. A lot of players from Oxygen going to work their way up. It's going to be a top-down clear, as you generally kind of have to do for every single site except that bottom floor. We'll see Fox quickly open up the hatches, and drone clears can be done here. Probably going to be a couple more seconds before we see any initial map control be taken, though, just because there is the extended third floor hold, and Oxygen obviously doesn't want to send their players to their graves this early on if there is someone set up to counter them.
Well, lots to be done here for Oxygen as we are still in the initial inklings of this round. Drones out. Bio clearing most of the top floor area. They know that Freezer's secured, or excuse me, Whitehall is secured, but all they have to really worry about is the Freezer area stacks, and well, not that anymore. I was gonna say Cocktail, but Geo could surely not survive that. Frag grenades go off at his feet, create some new soft destruction and some new holes inside of Geo himself. So nice pick here for Oxygen to lead us off. Hard destruction already down, but it seems as though Merc wants to stay upstairs, and that's exactly what he needs to do. There's still so much time on the board here. We're only halfway through, and if Merc can possibly equalize with a nice frag, that could definitely assist them. But now that the minute and a half has came through, the execution or pinch is coming through upstairs. Much rather keep himself alive. So we'll see what Oxygen can possibly do with this top floor control.
Yeah, most of TSM falling back as Stokes is at top floor control, pretty much entirely gone here now for TSM. I'm gonna have to really just hold it at the raw extremities, and even there, they're actually working it for flanks too from the looks of things. Just taking a look at the Chiefs' position there. Now they have to stop them from transitioning down from the third floor onto the second, and they have the positions to do that right now. This is where Oxygen will be truly tested as they start to set up for top-down angles. And I mean, this is a really great news for Oxygen too. They did this top clear with a lot of time in excess. They got it with about a minute and a half remaining there on the round. So they've got all the time they need to do the sledge work to open things up with breaching charges and establish all the top-down angles they would ever potentially need for a post-plant here.
Okay, well, lots of things could possibly happen in these next 35 seconds. Hard destruction down for Oxygen. They still have this top floor control, but do they have the flank watch set up? That's the big question. No air jab in here, but oh, Laxing very keen on what could possibly happen on red. Cleans up that flank, but Shala now up white. Plant going down though on Slash inside of Reading. They still have all 5 members alive, and oh no, I don't think the Nitro... Oh, it does! Shala gets there in time, but Merc's gonna get... What was that from Merc? Oh my god, vertical! Oh, that was disgusting, but it doesn't mean a single damn thing. Oxygen still claim the round after Laxing and his last remaining team member have a great cross on the Reading door.
Crazy turn of events right there to end out the half, but ultimately does end up going into the favor of Oxygen, a team that thrives in those chaotic situations, as we just seen right there. So 3-3 will be the scoreline as the teams switch sides, and now it's up to TSM to decide if they want to close out this series here or potentially take it to a map 3 if OXG comes out on top. And there we could obviously see OXG claim the entire series itself. Remember, folks, this is a brutal bracket. Single elim, only 4 teams. So if you mess up here, you are not getting a second chance. You are out of the running, and your opponent is going through to the grand finals.
I would just like to shout out to our social media guy for putting together the meme of the one shooty boy and the sniper rifle. Really appreciate you, man. Thank you so much.
I just saw that.
Listen, man, sometimes I say things that are memeable. Every once in a while, you know. It's a good feeling. It's a good feeling. But Oxygen now on over to defense. I mean, That was actually a really, really good half for them, you know, all things considered. TSM started off really strong on their kitchen hold, but they ended up going to reading. Oxygen handled that with flying colors, but TSM immediately battled back, claimed that next round. Then we transition into bar. They take that one too. Then Oxygen linking 2 back-to-back on kitchen and reading to get us to this point. 3-3 now, as we've already eclipsed that half. Well, upstairs, as we've just been talking about, seems as though they have a pretty similar setup as to what TSM was doing. I don't actually know. I do now. I see the deployable shield here inside the bathroom, but a little bit of a different setup as to what the ADS is and where the holes are. So we'll see if this works out any better than what TSM had. Slash, I was going to say, seems like he wants to play the pixel area, but this area has gotten quite scary with those recent changes that we were talking about before.
A bomb has been located.
Got both teams set up here, primed to take their initial control, and obviously in OXG's case, primed to defend it. But still, with only 30 seconds having gone by from the round, we're not going to expect to see anything too crazy come out just yet. Still in that kind of secondary drone phase here for TSM, where they're scouting out the initial info and seeing if they can get lucky with some mispositioned players on OXG and that they would be able to punish that. But so far, nothing being caught as of yet here, just forcing a few repositions on the OXG camp by making them shuffle out of the inner B site and closer to areas like the white stairs position that'll lead into freezers. We're now seeing those guys get into their new actual positions.
Okay, so TSM drop down now as we've had the entrance into the map. Fox might possibly have a flank, but he's been read out already by a drone, as he'll have to clean that up and scamper on to other, hopefully greener pastures. TSM already with the air jab set up and transitioning into a Christmas take, and this is where things are going to start to get hairy. They have to handle this shield setup that Oxygen have presented them. Slash will be the one inside of the bathroom. This is the position that Bolo was playing the last time and found quite a bit of success in, delaying Oxygen's push for so very long. But oh, I understand what this setup is now. They've made this hole in front of the shield extremely tiny, so you have to have pinpoint accuracy to actually get any utility inside of this to get rid of these ADSs. With 2 ADSs in tow as well, that means that they'll get rid of 2 possible projectiles depending on how that thing burns. They didn't have the ADSs, I believe, set up for a while to where if one thing gets in, you know, the exact same radius or within the radius of 2 ADSs, that they'll both try and attempt to burn it now. So we'll have to see if that could possibly happen, but they could have also changed that. I just did not catch it. Frag grenades in for Merc to get rid of this Banshee. It seems as though they really want this default plant.
Oxygen did actually take down a player with the nitrous cell right there. It brings Merc down into a down state, but it's not going to full kill him just yet. We'll be able to see an easy retrieval come in from Bolo to get him back into the fight. So obviously, pretty heavily injured there, down at 20 HP, but definitely still can do something here. The problem for TSM is they haven't been able to get the entries they need to justify the execute as of yet. 20 seconds remain. Not a single player on OXG has taken a lick of damage here, so they're going to have to force it in a moment. Down to the final 15, and here we go. Achieve starts things off well. They have a smoke to counter out Vert's position, but Fox, he's going to pick up the first response as he takes down Achieve. Slash gets the next. Vert tries to make a push from the inside of Freezer, but he'll be taken down. Slash's rampage will continue, ultimately to be countered by Geo, but now at 0, Geo has to stick it, and unfortunately, he's the only one left. A final pump from the Shoddy of Bio will finish off the round, and OXG take the initial on the second half.
Much better here for Oxygen. I love that setup that they have going on for their freezer bathroom hold. That is some fantastic stuff, especially with that little hole that we were talking about. But nice take there by TSM, but they started to get some thorns on their side, and once the execute finally came through, they just didn't have the crosses set up that they necessarily needed to try and take all of these gunfights, especially with the Oxygen members existing inside of freezer. That was the biggest problem, was Vert being allowed to exist in there, caught up some really strong frags, and was able to hold down that back line of TSM while they were trying to execute through the smoke that had plumed inside of the bar area. So nice stuff there by Oxygen to keep their head on their shoulders and keep themselves inside of this one. First time that they had the lead inside of this series as well.
Time to see if they're going to be able to keep it for themselves as they move down into a different site this time. We'll be over here on Kitchen now for OXG, as they'll look to hold on to that. Already got the castle setup coming in there for Laxing. Is going to look to double down on the security on the inside of Small Bake in order to disallow alternate angles from being picked up there from TSM. We'll see what the rest of it looks like in a second, but with the castle coming into the picture, probably pretty likely, as well as the deployable shield on Fox right there, probably pretty likely we're going to see a horizontal hold here from OXG.
Oh no, that's so very unfortunate. I was just catching up on some news from around the Siege scene, and apparently Chala accidentally left his USB plug-in for his Pro Wireless, so he has to use the cable instead, which is like, that's just pure chaotic energy when it comes to having a wireless mouse, is playing an entire tournament with the mouse plugged in.
He's still got a bungee at least, you know.
That's true. That's true.
Effect.
Yeah, that's
or just a very well-placed piece of tape.
You know what mine was for a very long time? My wallet. I took that from, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. You know Taz from Virtus Pro?
Yeah.
I saw him do that at LAN like 5 years ago, and I told myself, when I get a computer, I'm going to put my wallet on my mouse cable. And that's exactly what I did, because I didn't want to buy a bungee, because why buy a bungee when you can just weight down your cable?
I guess so.
Forehead.
Yeah. Either way, it's going to be... I'm going to very carefully say this word, slow start for both of these teams.
You got to dance around that one.
Yeah, as TSM is just looking to establish third floor control at the moment here, and obviously they'll transition that downstairs from that point forward. But that's kind of the trap here. They got to be careful because Oxygen is expecting that. They obviously won't get in the way of that clear since it doesn't really affect them, but they'll look to stop it quite suddenly as soon as they start to move down onto the first floor, where you've got the setup from Vert and probably a few other players from Oxygen ready to explode on the push from TSM.
Well, if there's anything we know about Oxygen, it's that they do not mind getting in the face of their opponent. Doesn't matter what side they're playing, what the map is, anything at all. If they see an opportunity, they are more willing to take it than anybody else. So we'll see if there's possibly a rotation to be had here, but I'm assuming that that's more than likely not going to happen. Chala has a history on this character, Nomad, and he's an amazing flank watch. Those air jabs always striking true and making sure that no one can possibly thwart the plans of TSM, as they've already started on vertical destruction, especially around the dining area. Set up a nice little area inside of red hallway here. They've put some reinforcements up as well to try and prevent the side angle happening inside of that hallway, but they've already blown that up or gotten it open with Merc's torch, and Merc's also going to get a frag from there as well as he takes down Fox.
Merc even had a second to like swap out weapons from there too. Is it going to be a second one for him now? Winds up the nade after he misses the actual angle here, so the player on the other side still gonna have to be cautious. Looks like the nade was a swing and a miss though, so no one else from OXG going down just as of yet. And the 4v5 here from Oxygen is still very, very winnable, to be completely clear here. That one kill they lost in the form of Fox is not the end of the world for them just yet, especially as we get closer and closer to a low time to execute for TSM, where they're gonna have to rush. They're not gonna be able to clear every single angle, and they're potentially gonna miss some players here, which will lead to free trades in Oxygen's favor. Coming down to the 20-second mark here. Still no sign of the aggression coming in from TSM as of yet, but that's going to very, very quickly change. Now that they move their way to the inside, they are just fully checking out the site. They're going to be able to feel safe in putting this diffuser onto the ground here. There we go. There's the first attempt coming in from Geo. Should be going off here. The support dies, but the actual plant does get down onto the ground. Bio looking to punish some of the players on the inside, but is not going to be able to do it. And in fact, Geo will pick up another kill for his team as he's able to eliminate Slash. Flexing on the wrap here, looking to cut off the upstairs players, doing it flawlessly so far as Merc goes down. Two others still in the area though, and he's not going to be able to take it further than that one kill he got. Chala knocks him out. And about half the defusal time gone already. Geo with another one. Is he still holding on from the position where he planted the diffuser about 20 or 30 seconds ago now? Vert's the last man standing, and he's not going to stay that way for very long. Geo gets a third on the round, and TSM pick up round number 8.
Geo was laughing straight to the bank with that one. You can see it on his face. He knew when he planted that he was more than likely dead playing in the sink position. He survived the entire time, and not only that, but he got 2 kills for his pleasure as well. Equalizing here up against Oxygen. Very strange on how TSM inserted themselves into the site there. If you guys saw what Oxygen had control of, they had control of bakery as well as the VIP dining area or like a restaurant area over on the opposite side of the map. So they were practically around their own site. There was really no one there to try and stop the plant. They just had crosses across the entire site throughout the entire first floor. And somehow TSM worked their way into kitchen to get that plant down without bumping into either side. It is just a very weird way in order to get that down, but it worked out for them. TSM able to get the plant down and win it out through that vertical play. I thought we were going to run into some more problems upstairs once Laxing got that flank off. He's usually the one that, you know, shows up so big inside of those moments, and he was able to get the lead off kill, but like we were talking about before, Charlotte does not allow those things to go unchecked, and he ends up shutting him down. So TSM 4-4 now as we move on over to reading and dining.
really spread post plan that we had from TSM on the second floor too, which is, as you were talking about there, like that's usually an area where we would expect Laxing to excel, because he can then kind of detach all of those separate players into individual 1v1s and manage them on a case-by-case basis. But unfortunately, this wasn't the case. It seems like they were almost like too far apart for Laxing, because by the time he gets that first kill and gets into position for the follow-up there, they're just so far away that they've had all the time they need to change up positions and eventually counter out to start looking for him as well. So a little bit unfortunate there, but again, not the end of the world here. Still at a 4-4 scoreline. Both teams very much in this map and this match at this point. But obviously it's TSM with the series lead that's looking to take this to its end on map number 2. To start things off, though, I'm going to get quite a bit of info. That is until the camera gets shot about what's working its way up to the roof.
Yeah, information definitely did not last for too long, but still plenty of cameras to be dealt with, and still quite a few to use for the defense as well. TSM has been slow and steady throughout the maps so far here on Cafe. They don't want to try and be too bullheaded and rush on in. They've been really cognizant of keeping the intel game alive and making sure that they know where these Oxygen members are before they go ahead. Strike once, measure twice. That's what they always say. So TSM working their way in from the west side once again, all the way over inside of Christmas, just dropping down red and pushing themselves across. Merc's still going to be on the Maverick, and he's actually been showing up on this op as well. Some nice shots as well as some good torch lines, and that's exactly what we'd expect from him. Overall, TSM's performance so far has been quite strong as well. It's just been more equal across the entire roster as opposed to the previous map.
Would definitely agree with that. We don't have one lone player outshining the rest like we did, at least in the first half of the case of Merc back on map number 1. As you said, it's been much more of a team affair with players kind of chiming in and out on a round-to-round basis. Halfway through round number 9 here, though, and once again, things have been relatively not loud to start things off here, as Slash still looking for a lineup. It's actually like a really good position too. It's just really frustrating, specifically for Slash, because now he's going to get droned out, and he was literally like 2 or 3 seconds away from having someone from Oxygen about to swing him. So if the Earth moved slightly differently, he may have had himself the duel he wanted there, but just not going to happen this time, and he does have to give that position up due to the drone work that I was mentioning a moment ago.
Yeah, if my Libra moon lined up with, the rings of Saturn or something like that, I think everything would have worked out there for him. But instead, he was an Aquarius, and that's his own fault. So I don't really know what to tell him. Anyways, TSM still on the board with quite a bit of HP left to go through, but they've really only gotten top floor control. Since we have moved all the way down to reading, Oxygen trying to play this through vertical means and nitro cells and everything else, still have a lot to do. Fox at the forefront right now when it comes to this battle. Very minimal time for both of these squads. Fox isn't going to have a nitro cell either, so it's going to have to try and be a forceful push. He's walking his way on up. No one's checking the angle. That's a free kill. Fox is still allowed to exist. He gets another. Can he get a third? Knife's over his head. Merc literally dodged a knife. I don't even know how that happens, but he's now putting the plant down. This man does everything. They hear him rotating in through laundry. Can he get the second? Achieved! Locks out the round. TSM explode onto site, trade things out into their favor, and Merc just does it all in order to make sure TSM can win round 9.
Achieved with some incredibly important kills right there as well. Not only does he get that first one, which is such an important cutoff because we saw it from his opponent's POV, and his opponent was pretty much ignoring Achieve for the most part there, was trying to go right for the down on the plant because they knew that Achieve wouldn't have had the opportunity to do it, but he beats him to the punch, takes him down, and then so quickly counters the wrap that would have killed his teammate in a post-plant scenario as well, leaving him very overexposed. Really well played there by Achieved, and some massive frags to clean up that round, and more importantly, now give TSM the lead on the map here.
Okay, so timeout by Oxygen. This is going to be their second timeout used up against the TSM, or actually, I believe it's a third, isn't it? They have one per half the last time, I assume?
I'm not 100% sure if they get 2 per map. You might be right on that.
Yeah, it just felt like they did for some reason. I don't really know, but I'm assuming that it's 1 because I'm 99.9% sure that that is the law. So
this is a TSM timeout, just to clarify that.
Oh, TSM timeout. Apologies. All right.
I think they probably called for it earlier and then weren't expecting the win, and then it ends up kind of helping them now. That I've seen that happen sometimes in some other games too. So that could be the situation we're faced with right now. But either way, it's been a little messy for TSM. So there's probably some things they need to talk about anyway.
Yeah, extremely understandable either way, but that now it makes sense. We've had 3 timeouts in total. TSM's just taken their first one. Oxygen's already used their one on the previous map and this one, so we'll get that course corrected, at least for myself. But that'll, you know, in the confusion, delay enough time in order for us to get back into the map. And that's really what we want to talk about anyways. That last round, TSM gathering, well, mustering up enough courage to just force their way into sight. Great spearhead by them to try and get that plant down, but they might need to tighten things up on those angles and how they're holding things. I mean, that was quite a soft angle to be holding on your bomb planter when they're you know, planting in that position inside of reading. You really can't, you know, try and check anybody that's playing couch or anything of the sort. But also, you know, I understand why it happened. There's a usually bullet holes inside of the laundry wall or things like that you could possibly run into some problems with, but doesn't really matter. TSM still picking up the round nevertheless, and that's going to put us into round 10 is which we have right now. So Oxygen headed back upstairs for their bar defense. It's been the only defensive site that they've won so far, and granted, it does look a lot like TSM's setup, but there's a little bit more than meets the eye, and that's what we found out the last time. This ADS setup was very difficult for TSM to try and work through. They didn't even really attempt to try and clear out the pixel and bathroom area. Instead, they wanted to go for what seemed to be a smoke plant slash default setup that just did not trade out into their favor. Mostly because of Vertical inside of Freezer, who was hindering a lot of their success once they were trying to push into Cocktail. He had the backline set up simply because the smokes were not for him. They were to stop anyone inside of the Freezer area, or excuse me, the Cocktail area from swinging in and stopping the push coming from Cigar.
Well, 30 seconds into the round already here. TSM still taking their time to establish presence on the roof and eventually work that down into the site. It's very much a drone game here in the early minute or so of the actual round when attacking this third floor site. Just due to how close to the chest Oxygen can play the initial contact points if they should choose to. And Fox is definitely choosing to do so at this point, as he was right outside of the red hatch drop there, inside of the cigar closet, before he eventually dropped down. Now, they saw that drop. They caught him on drone again after he went down. So Merc's immediately going to go on flank watch after he takes control of the actual hatch. I believe Fox has caught onto that, and he's fallen all the way back here now, as he's way in the depths of dining room, still looking for some type of play opportunity here, but obviously has to be careful now because TSM have entered the building.
Well, Vertical is going to take quite a bit of damage, but I'm assuming that it was more than likely bullets from, achieved up here on the skylight as he crossed once that Goyo shield got exploded. And he's going to take quite a bit of damage once again crossing back in. So they know exactly where he is. And on such minimal HP, he's more than likely one shot away from death. As well as, now TSM setting things up at the top of red. And, oh, look at that. New Habana hole set up as well, minimizing the amount that they needed to use to get into ticket. So that's pretty cool. He's actually going to save 4 of those Habana pellets there. So could possibly use those for other means. Looks as though Slashug wants to try and set up some holes to possibly work with for a nitro cell, or just try and see some heads a little bit better.
Slash, as you said, they're still trying to carve his way out to get a slightly better angle to work with here. But now the last minute of the round here, Bolo still on prime position on the inside of Cigar, currently just watching flank, but allowing his teammates to get quickly into position for the actual push, which looks like it's going to be coming relatively soon. Maybe one more check of the drones here before finally starting to swing themselves in. Oh, and what a find from Merc. Slash finally comes out from behind his safe corner, behind that shield, and is going to get immediately picked. Bert now looking to try and take things a bit further here. He's creeping up further into Freezer with low HP as well. Just playing a contact, hoping he can get a 1-for-1 here. Laxing taking some heat from the depths of the site, too. He's now down at sub 25 with pretty much the same HP that Vert's sitting at here. Do have those 2 X-Kairos primed and ready to go on the wall, but they haven't actually used them yet. At this point, they're going to be fairly irrelevant. 1-for-1 exchange. The Chief gets another kill. Bio will take down Merc on the smoke. Gio going for the plant. Does he have it? No, he's had to cancel it and back up. Still safe for now, though, but 2 kills have come in from OXG. Ultimately down to a 2v1, though, and that's where Chala is going to be able to shut this situation down for TSM as they push themselves closer and closer to match victory here in the semifinals of the US Division Finals.
So well done by TSM. They completely circumnavigate the entire situation over in bathroom and handled Freezer quite well as well. They knew the setup inside of Freezer, and instead of attacking it head on, they instead get control of the mid floor and use their, projectile explosives on the floor underneath the Goyo shield to get rid of Vertical and make him rotate. And that's exactly why not only he moved, but that initial damage happened to Vert. He knew he needed that position to try and play things out, but on the rotate back, they get the information on his positioning, and he was the last bastion of hope for them to try and shut down that execute in his position. That's why he moved up on such an aggressive angle, like you were saying. He wanted to play for that 1-for-1, and, you know, at a maximum, maybe a 1-for-2 if, you know, he goes unchecked, but that's not the case at all. TSM making sure to check all of those boxes across the board before attempting to push forward, and amazing round from them. Get it down to that 2 versus 1, and Chala cleans things up as usual.
Coming up on match point here now for TSM, and they really mean it this time as they already have the 1-0 lead from the previous map. Oxygen has to win the next 2 outright, otherwise their dreams of claiming a championship in the 2020 season for the NA division is unfortunately going to be lost. Unable to do it at SI last year, unable to do it at either of the majors earlier on in 2020. This is their last chance truly to claim a title, and unfortunately it's very quickly drifting away here. We need to see them rebound back, and it has to be done now.
Yeah, this has been just such a long time coming for Oxygen, right? Like, again, these players have continued to say, we are working on this, we are grinding, we are improving, we know we can be one of the best teams inside of North America, and I want to believe it so badly. These guys have been some amazing Siege players throughout all of their careers, but it just seems to always be all for naught when it comes down to it. This is going to be the 3rd time, if it happens, of them getting knocked out and not making it over towards those finals, and that's something that I think all of us would like to see. But as we've been talking about on the analyst desk as well as here, it's just something that we all want to happen, but it's not something that we necessarily expect given the insight that we've seen from you know, the past history. TSM still in the lead here, 6-4 right now. This is match and map point to go on to the final tomorrow to face off against Dark Zero. Who will win this out? Can Oxygen possibly force overtime here? They're going to need 2 rounds, but they're on the favorable side. Definitely possible.
Maxing with a nice nitro here to get us started on the frags. He's going to be able to take down Merc, finishing him off. This is down to a 5v4. A little over half the round remaining. It's not the end of the world for TSM, but certainly not the way they would have wanted to start this round off here, as Oxygen are not moving a muscle now that they've got the advantage here. I was going to have to move quite a bit now that he's been spotted, but small gestures. He just falls back to the inside of trains, and he's going to keep himself relatively safe on the inside of there. Geo and the rest of TSM still looking to clear out the 3rd floor with a little over a minute remaining as well. This is starting to become a bit of a problem if they're going to be unable to do this soon, as the time will really begin to work against them. And now it's going to get even worse here. Laxing is able to get a 2nd on the round as he takes down Bolo. A nice nade chucked out from Achieve does finally get a pickup for TSM going, but they need more than that now because time is starting to become their enemy just as much as the player count is.
Well, they now have top floor control, but they need this vertical play to work out for them. 3v4 right now. Another pick would do them justice. The other issue is Biologic is still alive, and I don't necessarily know if they know that he is Pulse. This is so much intel that he can gather from this cardiac sensor, and he's going to be able to telestrate everything going on this top floor. Looks as though they really want to try and attempt for a reading plant, but they'll take anything that can possibly fall into their lap at this moment. Achieve still sticking to this vertical play, trying to use this sledgehammer to the best of his ability, but it doesn't seem like TSM can find any of these Oxygen members willing to go for a gunfight. They drop right into the open arms of 2 members. Foxe and Laxing downstairs, swings with the M590, tries to find another, but instead it's just plenty of damage off onto Geo. Vertical cleans up Achieved across the map, all down to Geometrics here as he takes the initial lead off gunfight. It's Vert once again to close things out with a nice double kill. Oxygen stays alive.
Just too strong of a hold there from OXG. The early frag going into their favor on top of the stalwartness that they had within the site itself left TSM with a lack of opportunities in order to get the control they needed to push onto the site, eventually just trying to force it in those final 15 or 20 seconds. Great work, especially on the roam game again there. I believe it was Laxing picking up quite a few of those mid-round kills to slowly bring down the player count for TSM one by one and bring that into a situation where they just wouldn't have been able to control it on the attacking side. Now even better, they get to go to the final round of regulation and still have a chance in this matchup if they win one more round here to trigger OT.
Okay, so OXG completely abandoning the setup upstairs. This is an entirely new look, folks. We've got Vigil, we've got Mozzie, we've got Malusi. No deployable shields here for them. They're not going to be playing up towards the bathroom. This is an Oxygen that we're used to seeing. Aggressive, in your face. We want these gunfights. We want these leadoff picks. But how well is it going to work out for them? That's the question. TSM has done a very good job of fighting fire with fire today. Most of the trade rounds where, you know, they really want to lean into these gunfights and get in each other's faces, TSM has won. So far throughout the series, you know, Oxygen able to get 4 rounds on Consulate. Here on Cafe, they've gotten 5. This is the max round inside of regulation. And if there's a time to win out on these trades, that time is now. It seems like Oxygen are favoring possibly a Christmas play here. They're actually going to set an ADS inside. Slash is playing for the ticket wall. Wow, this is going to be quite interesting. Excited to see how this goes.
A different play style here coming in from Oxygen, but that may be exactly what they need to push this match over the edge into OT and potentially into a third map. A very important round, needless to say, coming up here for OXG, but TSM realizes that just as strongly, so they may begin to expect things or begin to double check things. However, that could potentially come back to bite them. We've already seen problems here where they have been unable to get into a good execute position before time began to work against them, just like how we had things transpire in that last round. So they've got to be careful not to run into that problem again, as that can make you lose a round just as much as any sort of early round mistake could. Drone work is being done here from Mercs. They should be clear to drop down Red Hatch relatively soon, since the drone should not have spotted anyone in the immediate area. Obviously, with Slash being the major exception here on the other side, is he's going to work to trick this. With the X-Kairos is going out, he can very obviously get the timing on that one and start to delete some of these here by charging out the walls.
Well, this is the good news, is that since the update has come through, Geo still has plenty of Habana pellets to try and get some hard destruction done through other means, mainly because he only used 8 of them there. So, but now seems like they could run into some other problems. Nice pickup here by Oxygen. Beautiful adjustment from them, knowing exactly how TSM was going to handle the map and adjusting accordingly, but still a long road ahead of them. TSM now swinging inside. Bolo has actually swung into heaven. He's in cocktail. Oh, not like this, folks. It's traded out, but what is it worth? What will it cost you, TSM? The plant's going down. It was the heaven swing instead. It was all a cruel ploy to gain Oxygen's confidence. Can they win it out? That's a bot shot, Bio. This is not the time to be missing. Chala swings, fries him, and it's all going downhill for OXG. Laxing the last hope here for Oxygen to try and beat out TSM. Very low on time and to try to make this happen. Remember, he needs 7 seconds in order to defuse, and with only 20 remaining, he has 13 seconds. He's been knocked on his ass. It really doesn't even matter. He's trying to work his way in. Everyone's GGing across the board. It's already been done, John. It's done and dusted. He runs right into the crossfire. Charlotte cleans it up. They put him in a body bag. Oxygen's going home. TSM ride the wave all the way into Saturday.
TSM indeed once again prove themselves against the OXG roster to move themselves forward into the US Division Grand Finals. They accomplished the same feat just a few months ago during the major. Now they've done it once again with an even more decisive scoreline coming in this time in that matchup. Both maps went to OT. This one's going to go to the final round of regulation, but that on top of a 7-4